Hello everyone and welcome back to another album review. And in this video I'm going to review Somber by Filmmaker. This is the newest album from a Colombian artist that has managed to create a really big name for himself in the underground scene in just a really short period of time. It's almost 1 year since Filmmaker has started uploading music on YouTube, Bandcamp, and also other platforms. And in a very short period of time, in about 1 year, Filmmaker has already released 7 different albums and 1 EP. This is the 7th album from Filmmaker, and this is actually the 5th one he releases in 2019. So yeah, we're talking about an artist that in a very short period of time he has released a lot of music. Though each album stays relatively short, none of the albums he has put out reach more than 40 minutes. It's about the 30 and 35 minute mark. So we're not talking about big albums, and this new one over here is not an exception to this rule. With that much material being put out, it gives you the impression that Filmmaker is one of those artists that is mostly about quantity over quality. In a sense, I can see that being an issue since his albums don't go to that much of a different direction one from each other, but in my opinion what sort of drags some of his albums down is a bit of a lack of originality, in the sense that Filmmaker has tons of apparent influences coming from 70s and 80s composers like Vangelis, John Carpenter and David Lynch, and also having lots of apparent elements from some of the more modern approach on 80s synth music like synthwave, even some cold wave vibes, and also industrial techno. The experience of listening to an album of Filmmaker really fits with the name of the actual project. It gives you a feel that you're listening to a soundtrack from a movie with lots of apparent influences of the 80s with some occult and dark themes, something that does not only resonate with the album covers and the whole feel, but also with the music and the sense of this thing giving a like dungeon synth aesthetic in some parts. In my opinion though, what's the really strong point about all of the projects of Filmmaker is this combination of sounds being brought up together, which in my opinion it has some refreshing ideas and it has the potential for going for something really unique and interesting. I like the inclusion of genres like synthwave, industrial techno, cold wave. I think it's a really good blend of sounds, and Filmmaker does a really good job at portraying a nice and tight combination of these genres. In my opinion, something that might drag some of the albums down a little bit are some of the melodies themselves, some of the sounds feeling more bland and generic, and not something all that refreshing and original, which was kind of the issue for me with the most well-known album, which was kind of the issue for me with some of the previous projects from a Filmmaker, like the album The Love Market, for example, which is one of the more well-known works from the Filmmaker so far. In my opinion though, Somber sounds like an improvement in all fronts. It has some of the more refreshing, some of the more unique, and some of the best and catchiest sounds out of everything I've heard from the Filmmaker so far, and it also makes for one of the better projects I've discovered this year. It's really short and well established. The songs once again are into a more repetitive and minimal approach, just keeping the same idea for about 3 or 4 minutes, extending those ideas with some additional scenes just in order to create a dark mood, and then move on to the next track. There's not that much of a special cohesion in between all those sounds being put together, but still this album has some of the best sounds from every single project of the Filmmaker and some of his best songs. This combination of industrial techno, synthwave, all of these occult 80s themes, they resonate really well with this album, but still in my opinion there is potential for even more. While I enjoy this album and there are some great moments to it, I'm just into this point where I think this is just the beginning. Even with so many projects being put out from the artist, it's still a very short period of time to have a clear establishment of what he's going to go with next time. This album just feels like the beginning of a vastly improved sound of a formula that he has already created with his past projects. But even there are still some moments that might lack of that much of originality, or that there are just so many apparent influences. For example, the song Castle Maze sounds like it could be in the Moon EP that was in the soundtrack of the first Hotline Miami. Also, the songs The Silk Road and Asunder have some of the more basic 80s vibes, with some of the beats giving Vice City, Hawaii feel, but there's still the dark atmosphere from the rest of the melodies and the synths. But like I said, there are some amazing moments in this thing, like the great starter Invocations, which is a great, heavy, industrial techno piece. Hermetik is one of the more laid back and catchy ones, but the beat on this thing is so amazing. Then there are also the great, catchy and head-banging Spirit Dweller and Evil Rings, like especially Evil Rings. This beat is nasty. Really nasty. The rest of the tracks I didn't mention, Encounters and Emerging Alchemy, are just decent and just add up to the whole experience to the album, which is overall, like I said, a really short album. It just goes for 34 minutes, so there's not that much to comment about it other than that. In my opinion, this is a really solid, catchy and fun project with a great sense of dark atmosphere and a nice combination of sounds and genres, but there's still potential for more. And I'm really hyped to see what Filmmaker is going to do next. I'm hoping that he won't just continue this whole cycle of just putting so many different short albums, like we're just on the 5th one in just this year, and there's not that much of a variety from each album. They go to this specific genre which yeah, he has established his own sound, and I think that Filmmaker is a really talented individual having some great ideas, and this album just feels like a huge improvement to this whole idea that he has created in his mind. I'm just hoping that we're going to see just a more fleshed out thing, something that would sound really different with an even better use of sounds and the whole context in his mind, so that we're going to have an album that would feel like its magnum opus, and it would just feel like something far more than just an improvement, because I truly see the potential for something really great by this talented individual. Really like this album, really recommended it as one great electronic release of 2019, and that's it. I'm going to give this album a 7 plus out of 10. What's your opinion on this album? Like it, dislike it, why, and what do you want me to review next time? Let me know down in the comments. Leave a like if you enjoyed the video, subscribe for more content like this. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you all in the next video. Goodbye.